Okay, so today I wanted to explain how to do the perfect resin mix, but to do that is probably going to be easier for me to head out on site, so let's go over there now. Before we begin mixing, it's important to ensure that we have everything set up and ready. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance and all that. So first, the lads are setting everything up. We've got our kegs of resin and hardener, our bags of 1 to 3 mil and 2 to 5 mil aggregates, which we get from Doltex. We've got our Rhino forced action mixer. And it's probably worthwhile me saying you can only use a forced action mixer when laying resin, as it must be a consistent mix, so a cement mixer won't do the job. Got our trowels and our trowel cleaner. We'll wrap a tarp around the wheelbarrow because otherwise the resin will stick to it. We'll do a double check of the weather forecast and then we're pretty much good to go. So to begin with, we'll turn the mixer on and deposit our first two 25 kilogram bags of washed and dried aggregates into the Rhino. We'll then deposit our resin into a pre-weighed bucket along with the hardener, and we'll mix it all up with a paddle mixer until the mix is consistent. Okay, so I just thought I'd give you guys some additional context on resins and resin kits because they do come in different forms and we do things perhaps a little bit differently to how you might have seen before. So you will typically see resin kits typically pre-weighed out resin and hardener, which can be mixed up on site. They come as like 7.5 kilogram kits, and that's typically standard practice within the industry. However, we do things slightly different because we order our resin and hardener kits in kegs. So these are 25 kilogram kegs, which thankfully this thing is empty at the moment. So 25 kilogram kegs, and we will pour these out into a pre-weighed bucket on site. So we will have a part A and a part B. It's just a plastic bucket really, which means we can pour the resin or the hardener into the respective bucket. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but there's actually a screw that we've just screwed in and a little marker to show us how much resin or hardener needs to go in the bucket to make up the 3.75 kilogram part of the mix. Once it's all combined, that will equal 7.5 kilograms. Which will then mix up together and then put into the mixer. So hopefully that is useful added context as to why we do it in the way that we do. So with that said, now let's head back onto site and carry on with the mix. Back onto site though, it only takes a minute or so to mix up those 7.5 kilograms of resin and hardener, where essentially we're just making sure that the resin and the hardener are thoroughly mixed together. Thereafter, we'll deposit the resin mix into the forced action mixer, and then we'll drop in our final 2 bags of 25 kilogram aggregates to create the full mix. We also add some binding quartz at the end of the mix too. These are just like fines which also stick to the aggregates to increase the surface's durability. Then once all mixed together, it will begin something called a thermosetting chemical reaction where the mix begins to cure. So it's important to move quickly and don't leave it in the mixer for too long. If you do leave it in the mixer for too long, especially on a hot day, it will begin to cure in the mixer, which makes it much harder to trowel down onto the surface. A couple of minutes or so in the mixer is usually sufficient, and we need to just make sure that all of the aggregates are evenly coated in resin before we take it out of the mixer. Once you've mixed your resin and aggregates thoroughly, deposit it into the wheelbarrow, and then you're ready to trowel the mixture down onto the surface. We'll deposit the mix onto the surface in manageable size piles, and then Jack or Ben will then spread the mix out and then level it using a screed bar, and then we'll also use another steel bar in order to keep our levels consistent at a 20 mil depth. And just for context, this is the steel bar that we use. We put it onto the surface and then it's consistent at that 20 mil depth. We can trowel up to it, and we know the whole surface as we work our way back is always going to be at that 20 mil. Now after doing a single mix, and whilst Jack and Ben are troweling down, we'll get prepared for the next one. But before we do that, you will get some resin buildup within the mixer. But because the Rhino has a polypropylene drum, the resin won't actually bond to the drum unlike traditional steel forced action mixers, so it actually makes it very easy to clean. We do recommend a cleaning after every 10 mixes, but it's literally just a case of wiping it out, spraying some drum cleaner on it, and pretty much it leaves it as good as new again. And I'll leave a link in the description in case you're interested in buying one. Now it's on to the next mix, and I'll stick a time lapse on so you can see the job being installed stage by stage. And that is how you do the perfect resin mix. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, YouTube thinks that you should check out this video next. With that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.